if all it was equality, I would be a feminist.
I think everybody should be liberated. Why just women, you know? I mean, but why not women? I mean, why not children too, you know?
How can they be liberated?
I think they've got to liberate themselves. Because I'm not going to do it for them.
For as long as I can remember, I have identified as a feminist. I was always told from a young age that I can accomplish anything. My parents never told me or my sister that we would be less successful than my brother or any other boy due to our gender. But as I got older, I became more aware that there are people in the world who do not agree with this. The more research I did about feminism, the more I came across the negative stigmas that the word had. It almost seemed that it could never represent men. So I took on the task of finding out whether the theories and ideologies could help men the same way they did women. Before we get started, it is important to define the word feminism, which is the doctrine advocating social, political, and all other rights of women equal to those of men. So this got me thinking, now that women have gotten some of the same rights as men, are men being forgotten? Can this movement, which saw women taking to the streets to have their voices heard, be for men?
Well, I consider it a biased word. I consider it, a word that just intrinsically can't stand for equality.
This is Karen Strawn, a self-proclaimed anti-feminist who runs the YouTube channel Girl Writes What. She believes that feminism has done all it can for women, but at the same time that it has taken away from men. This is a clip from the early 1970s at a feminist protest in London. Feminism has always been a movement for equality. In recent years, it seems like the original point has been forgotten. It was no longer about giving women the same rights as men. It began to get the reputation of the very thing that they were trying to move away from: oppression.
That's sexism in terms of sort of a passive, we'll ask the boys first, but I'm sure the girl, any girl who would want to cover a sports story wouldn't be barred from doing so and wouldn't be told that she has no right to speak on that topic, right? But then look at what men face when they want to give an opinion about abortion, which is not entirely an issue of women's rights to their physical autonomy. There are a whole bunch of other issues all tied up in that. And so when a man ventures his opinion on abortion rights, unless it's, I think women are the only ones who should be allowed to have an opinion on it. Unless that's his opinion, he gets just brutally told that he has no right to any kind of say over the issue whatsoever.
Karen's anti-feminist views got me thinking about how feminism affected men's rights in the eyes of the law. This is how I met Philip Davies. The articles I read about him painted a picture of an anti-feminist. I was curious to see how he felt about the term and if he really identified as one.
No, not really. Like I say, it depends what people mean by feminism. If it is genuinely about being wanting men and women to be equal, then I would be a feminist in that sense. What I'm against are the small number of feminists who want equality, but only when it suits. So they want equality with men where that would help women, but they don't want equality with men where it would worsen their position. So, for example, in the courts, where in courts it's much harder for a woman to be sent to prison than a man. What I object to are the feminists who don't want equality there because it suits them to keep inequality there, but want it in other areas. But those who genuinely want equality and accept it across the board, I'm all for them.
What about how feminists view men, and the ways that their theories and ideologies can help them? I met with Debbie, a 21-year-old law student who identifies as feminist. She believes that feminism can take away some of the pressures that men face in society.
Think about it as well, they've always been given the hard side of it. If they're not going to try and make it in that sort of way that that is laid out to them, they feel a bit behind other men who have made it. So, although us women have been, put in a certain position that we're lower than men, but also men have also always had to keep up to that high standard of trying to get there and be the man, you see. So I feel like we are kind of helping men by making things a bit equal. Feminism now, with the change of what it's like now, has changed how, how men can be portrayed a lot.
Debbie's views on feminism made me think about the ways in which it has helped men when it comes to the pressures they face in society. In 2015, 75% of all UK suicides were men. Organisations like the Campaign Against Living Miserably, or CALM, have been set up exclusively for men and boys to seek out a support system. Being strong and masking emotions are seen as masculine traits. Being able to forget these pressures can be seen as a strive towards equality.
Lots of women felt that they couldn't even imagine a time when men and women weren't equal. It's not that they felt that men and women weren't equal, they couldn't even imagine a time when they weren't equal. So I think really, for most people in the country, there may be some exceptions, there may be some cultural exceptions, but as far as I'm aware, everybody in the country pretty much is signed up to the idea that men and women should be equal, they should have the same opportunities.
A survey done by YouGov found that 54% of people do not consider themselves to be feminist, whereas only 34% of people identify with the term overall. And a poll done by the Fawcett Society found that 2/3 of people in Britain were for gender equality. I've learned that there are feminist ideologies and theories that can be for men. The longer I worked on this project, the more it opened my eyes as to why there are people who are opposed to feminism. Anti-feminists like Karen showed me that being against the movement isn't due to her thinking men are superior. The movement has begun to lose its way, and just like Philip, they both believe that feminism is no longer about equality. Debbie has shown me that there is a great deal of work to do when it comes to men and feminism. Maybe one day a more gender-inclusive movement will start, when no one feels left behind or silenced.